So this girl, I have so much freaking respect for her. I've seen her present many times, and she is one of the strongest COOs in the entire real estate industry. This girl is so on point, so detail oriented, so meticulous, so like well thought out. She's like so many steps ahead of the competition. And it's so cool to see her and one of our other speakers today, Brett Sikora, came together not too long ago and combined him as a visionary, her as an integrator. If you guys aren't familiar, there's this thing a lot of us run our businesses on called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, where Brett is the visionary, also known as a CEO, and Jen comes in as an integrator, a COO. And you put the two of these guys together and they built this amazing thing called Align. And they are literally getting teams from all over the country that are aligning with them and plugging into their systems. Majority of those systems are built by Jen, and she's a freaking badass. This year, they're on track to do 350 million, 550 units. And she's going to help you guys understand the foundation that you guys need to lay to be successful, whether it's business and life, and to ultimately scale up. So Jen Schiff, it's yours.
So in 2010, I was 27 years old. I had just spent about 5 years in South Florida, so how funny to be back here today, dancing on stages like this as a cocktail waitress. I got a call from my almost husband who was rushing himself to the hospital. I got to the hospital that day and I looked into his eyes and he was broken. And I didn't know anything about real estate because he had been working for 7 years as a solo agent. And all I knew is I wanted nothing to do with anything he did. He was banging his head against the wall at 2 o'clock in the morning because he had uploaded all the MLS photos and they had just disappeared. He was standing on toilets upside down trying to get the best photos for a listing. And I just never understood how every time I wanted to go to dinner, I was waiting 2.5 hours because he had to go sign another contract and I was done. So as this real estate agent who is standing in this room today looked at me in the eyes and told me that he couldn't do it anymore and he was broken, I looked back into his eyes and I told him that I know nothing about real estate. I certainly do not know how to list a home, and I have no idea what I'm doing. But I know one thing, and it's I believe in myself, and I know I can work for anything. And I stand before you guys today, 13 years later, suffering, championing, winning, losing, helping, and doing everything I can to be a superhero for real estate agents across the country, including many people who are in this room today. So I'm going to ask you all to stand up for a second, please. And when I count to 3, I'm going to ask you to repeat the words that are going to show up in one moment on this screen. 1, 2, 3. Learn, action, learn everything. Okay, you guys can sit down and I can just stand here and smile for the next 24 minutes and I think we're gonna be A-okay. Sound good? Because at the end of the day, what this all comes down to is I am no different than anybody in this room. And to blow all of your minds, in the last 13 years, I have been super grateful to help hundreds of real estate professionals and real estate teams. I got licensed in 2011 and helped probably multiple billions of dollars in production, and I have never sold a house myself. So if anything is possible, it's definitely this. And what I really learned was to become a champion to people who were broken. And as real estate professionals, most of us, as we get good, become really burnt out, right? And what we all want to do is look like Pinterest. So here we have the realtors and how they want to present themselves and how we're going and looking about our social medias, what we stand on stage and tell other people we are and what we do. And the reality is, on our best day, most of them look like the cake on the right. And the reality is that the bigger the business, the uglier the cake. And what you have to learn how to do is not judge the cake and not bake or get into the kitchen until you can make it look good enough. You got to go bake the ugliest cake over and over and over again and figure out exactly what to do a little bit different every time and how to make it just a little bit better for you. So ultimately, what ended up happening through these years of suffering and wins and losses and scaling and growth and everything under the rainbow is I started to build out a model that I just kept going back to over and over again. And this is what it looks like. This is the model that I have used in different ways on different days to be able to help double scale businesses, whether you're an agent who was in this room and was doing $500,000 in GCI and is now doing 7 figures, whether we scaled from 750 units to 1,500 units. The last 12 months, Align is in the process of doubling from 200 million to almost 400. I wish there was anything that was happening that made us any different from anyone else. All we're doing is executing this. And then what happens is there's actually parts inside of this that are mission critical for us to understand how to actually operate a real estate business. But what happens is real estate agents don't actually get into this to do what we have to do to succeed, run a real estate business. Most real estate professionals are getting into this business because we don't want to work, we want to make a lot of money, and we want freedom. So if we get good enough to be able to actually be a real estate agent who can then begin to produce income, what then starts to happen is you get stuck in the place where you want to go produce income first. And that's what ends up causing burnout. So if you look and you wake up every morning, most of us are starting at where we're going to produce revenue because nobody's paying attention to what has to happen before you produce revenue, and nobody wants to do the work that they don't desire. So what do? You wake up and you start attempting to schedule appointments, if you're lucky. And then you go through this cycle over and over of appointments and closings and forever clients and follow-up, and you burn out because you're going over and over and over in the same cycle attempting to get results. And then because we're in a room of some of the top production in this country, what ends up happening is you guys get the results, don't you? And then you become incredible producers. And we start selling 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, and then you come to me and you cry because I never got to sell houses. All I got to do was make it easier and keep you out of the hospital and help you sell as many houses as we possibly could. So the only way I win is if I get you to cry less. The only way I win is if I keep you out of the hospital, and if I do what I tell you I'm gonna do, and it's help you scale your business, and that's how I got here today. So now understanding as a real estate professional that you're probably running in this burnout cycle, what starts to happen? Well, guess what we need to do? We have to get mentors. We need to hire coaches. We need to go in rooms like this and listen to the people who are standing before us who are telling us what it is that they're doing to succeed. And then what do we start doing? Then we start trying to fix everything that we're burning out over because we're becoming successful as salespeople with the tools that other people are telling us to use. So one day we're using KV Core, and one day we're using Follow Up Boss, and the next day we're going for Zillow leads, and tomorrow we're going to Realtor. Yet what ends up happening is you're always along the entire way still missing what matters most. And when we miss what matters most, we can't really win to the level we want in life because the burnout keeps coming. Just because we do more work doesn't mean we get better results. And for most of us, because we're excellent sales professionals, we're not meant to be excellent operators. And every time you get successful enough that you need to leverage and start to scale past what made you really good as a relationshipper, then all of a sudden everything starts to break down. And so what I find is that we can solve everything when we start with mindset and planning. And when you actually slow yourself down and you do the work that you do not want to do, and you realize that desire is not the starting point, desire is earned. And as Tina said it so beautifully, if you are not ready to suffer and suffer and suffer some more, you're not ever going to get the business you desire. And that's really the framework we want to understand. Now, with technology today, we're looking to fix problems by having tech do it for us. We want to relationship less. We want to work less. We want things to happen faster. We want to not have to think anymore. Yet what I want to leave us all today is the understanding that for us to think the least, for us to adopt the technologies we need to get us to places that we want to go, the human has to come first, and we're going to want to adopt together ways to take technology today to help you accomplish the things that you need so that everyone in this room can get the results without the burnout. Okay, so when we can start in the beginning, what ends up happening is by starting at the most effective point first, possibility can happen and the burnout can be avoided in the energy and reward cycles. So for me, this is how I have learned that things are created in real estate business, whether it's a team or an individual agent. If you start in your energy cycles, you're gonna constantly burn out. And if you're looking for reward all the time, because guess what? We're all dopamine junkies and we want the hit. Well, guess what ends up happening? You go back to energy and you're just constantly burnt out. But you guys all you guys all have a gift available to you. It's strategy and possibility. And today, hopefully, we're gonna leave with a little bit of understanding how you guys can create that for you, and you don't ever have to burn out to scale your business. So we have two types of systems. One is systems of behavior, and one is systems of operation. With systems of behavior, these are systems around you that help you be who you need to be. These are the things that get you to the gym in the morning because you put your phone in the bathroom instead of snoozing it next to you. These are things like the smiley face you're gonna see in the right corner of my presentation deck that's gonna remind me to smile when I'm talking to you guys. Systems of operations are things like the CRM that you may pick or the lead system that you use to follow up. But we have both. And most of us are missing our systems of our behavior, and we're looking for systems of operation to scale and to move things forward, and it just doesn't work, and that's where we're broken. And then you go attempt to find other people who you think are going to be able to move these systems of operation forward for you. Yet again, if everybody's not focused on how they start with themselves, it's really just not gonna get you where you ultimately wanna go. So you want to ask yourself today, what systems of behavior do I need to help me do something that's not happening today, starting with me? And then what areas do I have in my business that could benefit from having a different system of operation to scale or make it better? So who created a vision and wanted it to come true in 12 months or less ever? Now, what we know is that vision and reality are always very far from one another. And the reason that's the case is because we cannot ever actually visualize what it is that's going to occur, and yet most of us are unwilling to act until you have the visualization clear enough to perform. So what actually would happen for yourself if you were able to create a vision, close your eyes, and act into the fullest possibility you can? So every day is the best day that you can put forward towards this vision that you perhaps desire. And if you ask anybody who you watch on stage, anybody who's successful in this industry or other industries, nobody had it easy. Nobody didn't have it happen where it started and stopped and built and broke. And it's amazing because I only have 25 minutes today to share successes with you guys, yet I could spend 25 hours talking to you about the things that I have lost and gained and the businesses that have built and been broken and the relationships. There are cemeteries of dead bodies behind me to get to this point, to learn, to grow, to foster. My personal relationships, everything got affected to figure this out so I could just hopefully go help more people. And Brett and I are having fun doing that now. Okay, so our thoughts are our feelings, and how do we decide is really the question. So if you wake up every day starting with mindset being the most important thing, and you tell yourself that you're not smart enough to do what they do, and you're worthless, and you don't do SHIT right, what do you think is going to happen? Now, here's something you may not know. Your mind creates energy in 17-second increments, which means every thought that you have, if you think the thought for 17 seconds, the vibrational pull is going to go into that thought. So if you go 17 seconds in negative and 17 seconds in negative and 17 seconds in negative, your brain can only play the negative movie. If you go 17 seconds in positive and you tell yourself things like, I believe in myself and I can do anything, or you say, I deserve everything I'm willing to act on, what do we think happens in those 17-second increments? And whether you believe in this stuff or not, the reality is we are energy and we are a vibrational pull. So if you think about yourself and you're somebody in this room who thinks positively, you're probably a person who could have gotten on this stage from being a cocktail waitress 20 years ago. If you're somebody who doesn't believe in themselves and every day is blaming the market, blaming politics, blaming interest rates, blaming buyers, blaming your pipeline, you're just not going to have anything you want. But there's one thing I can promise you is I have 100% success rate of every single person who's ever run the plays winning and getting what they want. And not because it was easy, and not because they didn't lose, and not because it happened exactly as they wanted it to happen, but it happened because they kept believing in themselves, or somebody kept believing in them when nobody else did. I'm a product of that. There were many people in this room who told me at one point that they didn't believe in me, and I continued to believe in myself and make the impact that I could to help everybody, because that's all all that ever mattered to me, and those results are what caused the power for all of us. So I'm going to ask you guys to close your eyes for a minute. And I can see your eyes, so if they're not closed, you're not participating. This is a great example of telling everybody that as humans, we are resisting machines. So when someone tells you to do something, you normally don't even want to do it. It sounds like our real estate team, huh? But let's move that aside and close your eyes. And I'm going to ask you guys to think a happy thought. Think about the last time that you had a huge smile on your face, you felt full of love. Where were you? What did it smell like? What did you see? And now I'm going to ask you to open your eyes. And then, because we're having so much fun and you guys want a nap, let's close them again. And now I'm going to ask you guys to just think of something that's a little less happy. When was the last time you were sad? When did somebody hurt you? When did you cry? And open your eyes. Now, when I asked you guys to think a happy thought, can you all scream to me and tell me what you felt? What do you feel? Happy? Joy? What else? Love. Okay, when we closed our eyes and we thought unhappy thoughts, what did we feel? Who just controlled that? You did. So what would mean that any moment of any day you can control your thoughts? Yet what we believe that the movie playing in our brain because of the programming that's happened to us up until this point is the truth. There is no truth to your brain. Your brain is the enemy, everybody. And most of us are out here running these entrepreneurial highs because as real estate professionals, we don't actually have to be systematized or organized or operationally sound to get far enough to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's the really shitty part about this business. But what ends up happening is sometimes we get too far to be able to catch ourselves back up. But the magic is that at any moment you can change the outcome by changing your emotion and changing your feeling. And that's all available for us. And so as we continue down this path of mindset, we have to understand that there's two things going on in our brains. You have your goal getter and you have your goal setter. And your goal setter, some of you might have seen this if you're familiar with NLP, is your conscious mind. And that's what creates the things that you desire. And then you have your unconscious mind. That's the things that keep you and the story running so that you don't take action. And over, our actual behavior does not match the goal. So I'm going to ask everyone in the room to raise your hand if you had a 2024 goal. And if your hand's up and you're on pace to hit the goal, can you stand up? Now look how about maybe 30% of the hands that went up originally just stood up. Okay, you guys can sit down. I appreciate you. And so what we have to understand is that a lot of times we're judging ourselves because we're not doing the things that we said we were going to do. We're in a place of negativity because our conscious mind set this $25 million goal in front of us, yet I never woke up to set 2 appointments a week. So it's really unfair to imagine that we would ever get it. Yet our brain is here again telling us we're wrong. It's keeping us safe. It doesn't tell you what's right. It tells you what you're used to. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you just don't have a cue. And when we think about a cue, a lot of times in real estate, there's this word that gets thrown around, accountability. We need accountability. We want accountability partners. We need to be accountable to this. We need to be accountable to that. Yet if you really think about accountability at the most granular form, all that is a cue. It's a cue to prepare. It's somebody who might prepare with you. It's a cue to know what you're doing because there's accountability around that consciousness. And that accountability partner becomes the cue to remind you whether you did something or you didn't. Yet we don't think about it that way. So I just want everybody to realize that it's not about what we can or cannot do because we can all do everything. It's about how do you know how to cue yourself into taking actions that your brain don't naturally tell you to take. Because that's really where the difference happens for all of us. We're not naturally going to do these things that just don't feel good. We're not naturally going to do these things that our brain doesn't tell us feel safe. And you have to start to create habits. And for most of us today, the habit might just be your mindset. The habit may just be how you take time to prepare, because every day you're waking up in that burnout cycle because you're, where's my next appointment and what do I do next? And where's the next email and the next text and the next person who wants me to solve a problem for them so I can feel important. But what would happen if you solved a problem for yourself first? And what would happen if you put your energy at the highest in the beginning of the day by going and getting results before you have to go get results for anybody else? It would be remarkable. And you create the habit by a transformation of paying attention to things you didn't pay attention to. And it's not your brain, because your brain, again, will never tell you to do the right thing. You have to know how to use trigger actions and rewards to be able to move yourself through a cycle to do anything different. I could talk about this in itself for hours, but if you're not familiar with how to create habits or how to cue yourself into things you're not doing, it's not about your 2025 goals scaling from 200 to 400 million or $5 million to 10 million or 20 to a $50 million team. Today, it's about how you just cue yourself into the basic actions that are missing that can give you a chance of getting to that vision. And for most of us, this is missing. So, what is available in technology to each and every one of us today is one of the most incredible things I've ever experienced in the last, oh no, can I go back at all? Oh. Let's see if that works. You think I hit it one more time? Yay. Okay. So in the last 6 to 8 months especially, we have found that, as I hope you guys are hearing, the human still has to exist. We still need to show up for ourselves. We still need to show up for our businesses. We still need to show up for the people that we lead. We still need to relationship our database so that technology doesn't steal it. There's a lot of things we need to do. Yet if you're in this room still relying on your brain to be the choice performer, I'm here to tell you, you will never be the person that you want to be. And that there's no person on this stage or anybody in this room who has ever had the type of success you desire not using something to help them. And I'm just taking you through an example that you may be watching here, yet here we're just going to use ChatGPT to help us reframe how we think about ourselves with our words. And then ChatGPT is going to reframe for us how to plan a day by design that meets the vision that we desire for ourselves. So imagine how hard we are out here working, attempting to figure out what to do next, when in 5 minutes and a couple adjectives about what you see for yourself in your life, you can have ChatGPT give you an entire narrative to read day after day after day. I actually have a couple people who did this exercise and recorded to themselves, and they just listened to themselves speak these powerful words every single morning before they start the day, and it's just transformed them. And so here, again, using the example of how we start to believe and speak to ourselves different, and then as you'll see this continue to go, this belief system then gets tailored into, well, now how am I going to prioritize what I want to do to make sure that these things happen? And you really need to find the way to bridge your use of technology with yourself to find out how to get to the core of what you want to do. And again, this is just an example showing you how to do it. It gave us our perfect life. Now you can see we wrote, create a daily schedule for me, and here we go. Our morning, we're focusing on health and mindset from 6 to 9 a.m. Does that sound like a good idea, everybody? Woo! Then we're going to breakfast and learning. Then we're going to professional and legacy building. I'm not going to go through this one by one, yet hopefully you guys are watching and seeing just what's possible when you can bring your humanness to technology to help drive again. Today we're talking about the structures of mindset and planning so that everything else can be possible and we can avoid the burnout. I like that wind down by 5. Who'd want to be winding down by 5 in here? We'd all like to be winding down by 5. ChatGPT is going to help us do it. Okay, so as we now hopefully have this framework of understanding that possibility is going to begin with our mindset. Whether we say we can or whether we say we can't, we are right. So nothing is going to happen that you don't tell yourself is going to happen. And finding the tenacity to be able to work through the vision when you can't see the vision come to life is really the mastery of all this. We have no idea how things are going to happen. We just know that if we maximize our daily effort, we're going to get closer because we're going to either win or learn, and the lesson is going to get us where we need to go, or the win's going to give us the energy to keep going. And until you value yourself, you will not value your time. And until you value your time, you will not do anything with it. So myself and everybody else can sit here till we're blue in the face. We can share the tactics. We can give you ideas. We can tell you how we got here. We can tell you how we suffered and how we won. Yet until you actually find that intrinsic connection to what you believe you are worth and what you believe you can accomplish, nothing is going to cause you to prepare for your day or prepare for your week or prepare for your year, because you're still letting your brain run the show, because your brain does what it feels like doing. And for people who get to accomplish really big things, desire, again, is not the starting point. Desire is earned when you do everything that you don't want to do, and you find a way to get something to help you to do it. And these are the two most critical parts of preparing and planning for time today that I want to share with you that I think would make the biggest difference to preventing anybody's burnout and doubling or scaling your business. And that's the question of, what are you actually investing in first? There's a physical dimension, a mental dimension, an emotional dimension, and a spiritual dimension. And if you're waking up every day and you're not planning, you have no shot. And if you wake up every day and your planning starts with appointments, you also are going to be in a gap. What would it look like if you put these dimensions into your life and into your preparation first, and then you gave the world the best of you, not the rest of you, because your self-care came before anything else. Your understanding of what needs to happen here comes before anything else. So you are the preparation, you are the plan. What you are doing, what you are cueing, how you are being, and how you are acting is going to get everything. You don't need to hear another person tell you what they need to do. Real estate businesses are like snowflakes. Be your own snowflake. There are no two the same. I arguably have probably seen inside more real estate businesses than most people in this country. And when I promise you guys, I've never seen two things ever be the same, the amount of effort you apply on trying to duplicate somebody else's personal genius, it's never going to happen. And the second part of it, once you have yourself nailed down, is then how are you going to figure out how to relationship in an order that gets you wins as fast as possible. And this is probably one of the greatest dynamics that I've been able to use to change real estate teams and agents over anything that I do when it comes to how you prepare what to do first. And that's this. Raise your hand if you like talking to your sphere of influence more than strangers. Okay? Raise your hand if you like talking to strangers more than your sphere. Okay, so what's really interesting about this is that in order to get to agreement on a sales cycle, you have to have a couple of really important things called trust and rapport. And if you look at this, what ends up happening is the starting rapport when there's people that you haven't met is way, way at the bottom. And the starting rapport for SOI is all the way up here. And then the rapport needed to set an appointment is here. And then the rapport and trust needed to achieve a signed agreement is here. So tell me, when you are preparing and planning on a daily basis, how is it that you want to start at an empty path when you can always start here first and win and get energy? So we talk about preparation, we talk about planning. You prepare and plan to win as fast as humanly possible in the day so you can get that dopamine hit and you can want to do more. If you start empty, you're not going to plan the way you need to. You want to really start here. And again, to do all of this, you guys, it's habit systems. So it sounds incredible to be able to sell $350 million in real estate in 550 units. Wow. Yet what I tell you is that every single day, the only reason that's possible is because we use Post-it notes, and we use reminders, and we are religious with our calendar, and we use systems and tools where the brain does not operate anything for us. If you're asking yourself at any point in the day, what do I do next? You are not at optimal. And if you are planning and preparing and using a calendar, I don't ever ask myself what I'm doing. I ask my calendar what I'm doing. So if there's anything you guys do when it comes to preparation, when it comes to planning, when it comes to schedule, just attempt scrolling your calendar before you scroll Instagram and watch what happens. And remember, if you give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'll spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. So what does it look like for you in your business? What is the reason that you're waking up every day assuming that you're going to go make millions of dollars with 15 minutes of effort? What's missing for you to actually understand the mindset and the planning that needs to go before the tools, the systems, the energy, the appointments, and the rewards? And for anyone in this room today, I just want you to understand that anything is possible for you if you stop paying attention to the things things that don't matter, put yourself first, and just find a way to act every day and stop worrying about what anybody says about you or what anyone thinks, because you can stand here and get the results too. Thank you.